Kids, I'm going to today teach you about the most exciting thing that I have ever learned in my life. So, before we begin, let me ask you a very simple question. Have you ever looked at the sky? Yes, and what did you all see when you look at the sky? I'm really curious to know what planets have you seen. So, what are some of the planets that you know of? Come on, quickly. Venus, yes, that's right.
Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune.
All right, we have a genius class. Who's that?
Sir, me.
So I can't see you. Can you say your name?
Say Yatharth.
That is correct, Yatharth. Very good. So as Yatharth just said, we have plenty of planets in our solar system. And let me just show you a really beautiful picture of the solar system. So I see a lot of different answers: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. That is great. So this is a picture of our solar system. And before we get into the specifics of it, let's start from the very basics. And here are some of the questions for you. So you've already told me some planets you live. And what planet do we live on?
Earth. Earth.
Come on.
Earth. Earth, sir.
Good.
Earth.
Yes, I heard that.
Sir, Earth. Earth, sir.
That is correct. Great answer, everyone. So we live on this planet called Earth. And how many planets are there in our solar system?
8, sir. 8. 8, sir. Sir, 8. Sir, 8, sir. 8,
Great.
sir.
Yes.
8
yes,
planets
correct.
are there.
Very-
Pluto is not there. 8 planets.
All right. We will start the debate.
Pluto is a white planet. There were 9, and the 9th was Pluto, but now it is a dwarf planet.
Right. So we will come to, we'll settle the debate on Pluto towards the end. But yes, the right answer is 8. And we have 8 planets in our solar system. And the question that I have is actually a very simple one. So the planets in our solar system revolve around a star. What is that star?
नहीं बेटा उन्होंने अभी आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछा है
Sun.
Perfect. I think we should all clap for ourselves. You all know everything that I wanted to teach today. All right, jokes apart. So yes, Sun is the star that is at the center of our solar system, and all the planets and a lot of other small bodies, including asteroids, dwarf planets, they all revolve around Sun. And the final question that I've got, before I get started, is what is the Earth's natural satellite called?
Planet होता है जिसके सामने रिंग होता है सर मून
Moon. Yes.
The Earth's natural satellite is moon. The Earth's natural satellite is moon. The Earth's natural satellite is called moon.
That is correct. So
Moon.
yes, I heard that. Thank you, everyone. And now you all know the answers to these questions. Maybe some of you do not all, but we will take a very
all of them.
You're right. Yes, your thought. Smart kid. So before we get started, I want to take you through some really basic stuff and ask you some really fundamental questions, and maybe also help you understand what these things are. Things that we call star, planets, satellite. These are all different kinds of bodies that are floating out there in the space. And before we get started, Can someone tell me what truly is a star? See anyone
We
type?
can see stars when we can see stars in night. When stars energy finishes, it forms a black hole.
That is a really smart thing to say, but my question is more fundamental. So my question, yes, we're coming back to my question, what really is a star? And let me help you understand it. So there are different kinds of bodies floating out there in space. And different bodies have different characteristics. A star is a huge body that is mostly made up of gases, and these gases are helium and hydrogen. So imagine a huge body floating out there in space, and this is all made of gas, and these gases are continuously burning, and because they're burning all the time, they give out light. So it's basically a shiny ball of gas, which is a star, and these are really huge compared to our planets. Yes, Yatharth, I see this answer. Ball of gas, mostly helium and hydrogen. That is correct. That's perfect. Bang on. And that really is a star. Now let me just go back to this picture. Here on this picture, you see this on the left, you see this shiny semicircle. So I've shown only half the sun here, and this is the sun, which is a star of our solar system. And this is huge compared to all the other things that exist in our solar system. And that helps that helps keep everything in place. And the size of the sun helps all the other objects revolve around it. So now let's go back. Now that we know what is a star, what is a planet? And I just answered this question. A planet is a smaller object. This could be rocky like our Earth, or maybe made of gas. Correct. Any object that revolves around a star, that's a planet. Now, what we have done for our convenience is a group of really senior scientists sat together and decided to classify different kinds of objects into different categories. And what we've come up with, if it's a very small object, we call it an asteroid. If it's slightly larger than an asteroid, then we call it a dwarf planet like Pluto. And if it's a large object, then we call it a planet. So these are all different kinds of objects, and depending on the size, we either call them an asteroid or a dwarf planet or a planet. And I think that should help us settle the debate on whether Pluto is a planet or not. And the answer to that question is, because Pluto is really small, we don't classify it as a planet really. We call it a dwarf planet because it's really small and tiny. All right, moving ahead. As I just said, these are different objects. The planets are different objects revolving around a sun, and that is what you see here in the picture. There is one star in the middle, and there are two planets which are revolving around it. Now moving on. So what is a satellite? Now this should be an easy one. Come on, quick. Let's type it out in the chat box.
Satellite is an object or machine that orbits a planet.
Correct. Anyone else?
Satellite comes from a rocket when it separates.
Yes, that is also correct.
And it takes footage of planets.
Yes. So who wants to go into space? Anyone?
I want to go into space.
I want to go to space.
I want to go to the space. I want to go to the space to see planets.
Can I request everyone to just type in the chat box? Thank you. Okay, so Delisha says she wants to go. Chavi wants to go. Who else? All right, so we've got many kids here who want to go to space and be astronauts. And what do you want to do when you go to space? What do you want to see? Do you want to see stars? Do you want to see planets? Is there a planet that you like more than the others that you would want to see?
I want to go in the Mars.
You want to
I
go to Mars?
want.
I will go and see
I
planets,
want.
stars, and astronauts.
When I go to space, I see the satellite, sun, and other planets. When I go to space, I want to see planets like Earth and search aliens.
Oh, you want to see aliens, but we don't know if aliens are there. That's a topic we'll cover in a separate.
Aliens are there. Aliens are there. The planets and the aliens.
Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We will discuss aliens in a separate class, and I'm really impressed to know that a lot of you are interested in going to space and looking at different planets. Now, let's move ahead. Now, what I want to cover in this class, in the remaining of the class, is basically talk about the different planets that we have in our solar system and a little bit about each of those. And just to simplify for everyone, our solar system is this whole, the whole system of sun, which is at the center, and then all the stars that are bound to sun, and also the smaller objects, which I mentioned earlier, that's the dwarf planets, the moons, and the asteroids. All right. So once again, showing you this lovely picture of our solar system. All right. And now each time you look at the sky at night, do know that there are these planets out there. There is the sun, which you can see in the day, and there are these other stars, which are much far away that you cannot see during the day, but you can see at night. And you can also see some of the planets. All right, so the first planet in our solar system from the sun is Mercury. This is also the smallest planet in our solar system, and it might interest you to know that our Earth takes 365 days to make a complete revolution around the sun, and Mercury does this in just 88 days. Moving on, the second planet is Venus, and this is how Venus looks. And I think Yatharth just said that Venus is called the evening star. The reason why Venus is called the evening star, because on a clear sky, if you look towards the west on around let's say 5 o'clock in the evening, or maybe a little later than that, between 5 to 7, you can see a star. You can see a body which is shining very brightly, and that is Venus. It's generally blue colored. And you can see Venus with your naked eyes on a clear day. And Venus is also called Earth's twin because in terms of size, it's very similar to Earth. And Venus takes 243 days to make a complete revolution around the sun. And another interesting thing about Venus is this is the hottest planet in the solar system.
23 days only for completing the Earth round.
Sorry?
That sun round. Venus is the hottest planet because it's near the sun. So Venus is the hottest planet because it has a lot of gases and the gases produce heat.
That is correct. Gases, they don't produce heat, but what happens really is, if you're keen to understand, the sun emits a lot of light, which is very hot, and there are a lot of gases on Venus that trap the light, and they do not let the heat go out. And because the heat is stored in Venus, it's not able to go out. The planet becomes really hot. And this is our own planet. So which continent do you see here? America, yes.
There are 7 continents in Earth.
Yes, that is correct, Rushin. There are 7 continents. That's correct, man. So you see here on the top is North America, and what you see at the bottom is South America. All right.
There
Now
are
moving
5
on. Yes, there are. We are on the topic Earth right now, not on oceans. So, our home planet is Earth. This is the most beautiful place, and I think you all should travel to different places to see how beautiful our Earth is. And this is the only planet that supports life. Now, as you all know already, you celebrate your birthday once a year, every day, and we do that because the Earth takes one full year, which is about 365 days, to make a complete revolution around the sun. So basically, what we are celebrating is you have made one revolution around the sun, and depending on how old you are, that is the number of circles you've made around the sun. Isn't that interesting?
Ma'am, can I tell
And then,
about Earth?
yes,
Ma'am, sir, can I tell about Earth one thing?
yes.
Sir, the Earth is in a habitable zone for many crore years, and that is telling that Earth will remove from habitable zone in few crore years only.
Uh-huh. Yes, that is because there are different forces acting on our planet. We live on Earth. This is the only planet that supports life, and it's very beautiful. And what I was saying is, each time you get an opportunity, you should travel and see how beautiful this planet is with your own eyes. You're all very young, and I hope that you have the opportunity to see different places and see for yourself how beautiful our Earth is. We also have a satellite, and a natural satellite that's called the moon. There are a lot of artificial satellites that we have made, put it in a rocket, and send it out into space. And those are making circles orbiting around our planet Earth. And but there is one natural satellite, and that is the moon. So Kanav, you raised the hand. Okay. Yes, you want to say something? Please type it out in the text box. Thank you. Okay, so we will move ahead. The next planet from the sun after Earth is Mars. Now, interestingly, Mars is called the red planet. And the reason why it's called the red planet is, can someone tell me? Come on. Please type it out in the chat box. Yes, Shavi. I please request you to type, because it is red. Yeah, but why is it red? What makes Mars red? Now, this is interesting. So what makes Mars red is dust. No, it's not dust. Because of gases. No, unfortunately not. It's the same thing that makes our blood red. So what makes our blood red? Okay. It has red gases. No, unfortunately, Deep, that's not the answer. The answer is iron. So iron, which is a metal, is present on planet Mars, and iron gives it the red color. Interestingly, our blood is red because our blood also has iron in it. So moving on, Mars is the 4th planet from the sun. It is dusty, cold, and it has polar ice caps. It's very different in terms of the terrain compared to our Earth. What we have done is basically sent a few rovers into Mars to study how Mars is. And Mars also has two natural satellites, and those are called Phobos and Deimos. Okay, moving on. The next planet is the largest planet. This is the fifth planet from our sun, and this is also the largest planet. Yes, I'm talking about Jupiter. So Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system. And if you wanted to imagine how huge Jupiter is, it is as big as 11 Earths. Just imagine 11 Earths. Our Earth itself is so huge, and Jupiter is 11 times bigger. And Jupiter takes about 12 years to complete one orbit around the sun. And so on Earth, wherever you go, you either find water or you find rock-like surface. But Jupiter is very different. It is a giant gas ball. And my voice is not coming. Cannot land on Jupiter. Okay, we cannot land. Yes, that's because it's a giant ball of gas. Sorry, are you able to hear me, Delisha? Am I getting that name right? Jupiter has a storm which has always been there, and it is huge. Jupiter itself is huge, and then it's got this giant, storm that is always there. One very more interesting thing about the four planets that we will study from here on is, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. They all have rings around them. The rings of Saturn are very beautiful, and they are visible from Earth. The rings that these other planets have, Jupiter, Neptune, and Uranus, are not very well defined, but they do have rings around them. Another interesting thing is, when you look at the sky, we see just one satellite in the night, right? And that is the moon. If you were to go to Jupiter, you would see 75 such satellites. 75. Moving on, this is a lovely picture of my favorite planet, which is Saturn. What makes it favorite are these beautiful rings around them. Now there is no one ring that it has, but it's a group of rings. So Saturn has these 7 rings around it. Now you can't clearly see it in this picture, but it's basically 7 different rings around Saturn, and they are at a distance from the planet Saturn. This is the 6th planet, and Saturn is the 2nd largest planet in our solar system, and it's really beautiful because of its rings. Another interesting thing about Saturn is it takes 29 years to finish a complete orbit around the sun. So Kushu says its ring has ice, dust, and rocks. Yes, that's correct. It's mostly made of ice and rocks. So this planet, the next one that you see on the screen, is Uranus. This is the 7th planet from the sun, and it was discovered way back in 1781 by a gentleman by the name William Herschel. And William Herschel discovered Uranus with the help of a telescope. Uranus is also bigger than Earth. It's 4 times as big as Earth. And it's got 13 rings around it, and it has 27 moons. Interestingly, it takes a very long time for Uranus to complete one orbit around the sun, and it takes about 84 years. That long. Moving on to the next planet, which is Neptune. This is the 8th and the last planet in our solar system. And you cannot see Neptune with just the eyes. If you want to see Neptune, you will have to use a telescope. And Neptune takes even longer, 165 years, to complete an orbit around the sun. And it has 14 natural satellites. All right, now coming to the most interesting part of our today's session. So how do we remember these planets? Now we can do it with one very simple thing that I'm going to tell you now, which is this. My very educated mother just showed us nature. If you remember this line, you will very easily remember all the planets in our solar system and in the exact order they are from the sun. And how do you do that? And I show that here on this page. So what you do is take the first letter from each word of this sentence. My very educated mother just showed us nature, and there are different ways of remembering this, but this is the most convenient one that I use. So what you do is you take the first letter from each word. For example, from my you take M, and M stands for Mercury. Then from very you take V. V stands for Venus. Then educated E, and that's Earth. Then mother M, that's Mars. Then just is for J, and that's Jupiter. Then we've got showed S for Saturn. Then us, the first letter is U, and that gives us Uranus. And then the last word is nature, that gives us N, and the planet is Neptune. So all you need to do is remember this simple statement, one simple sentence: my very educated mother just showed us nature. And this will really help you remember all the planets in our solar system. Now, before we end, we are pretty close to the end. Before we end, I just wanted to end this session that I really enjoyed with you with a simple quiz. And please type out the answers in the chat box. Which planet supports life? Earth. Yes, Chavi, you got it right. Let's move on to the next one. Which is the largest planet? Jupiter. Yes, Kushal. Jupiter, Neve, yes, that's right. Who else? Hamiz, yes. Jupiter, Mayank, yes. So Jupiter is the largest planet. And which planet has beautiful rings around it? Can someone give me an answer to this question? Saturn, yes. But let me clarify this for you. Saturn is not the only planet with rings. 4 planets have rings: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. But the rings that Saturn has are very beautiful, and you can see them with a telescope. Then the 4th one, which is the last planet in our solar system? And I see the answer already, Neptune, yes. Because, if you remember this statement that I just showed you, let me go back to that again. My very educated mother just showed us nature. And the last word here is nature, and N is for Neptune. So that would be the last planet in our solar system. And how do you remember the planets? Again, you just go back to this sentence. And we are towards the end, and if there's anything that anyone would like to say, happy to hear. So I'm going to put everyone on unmute now, and maybe if you would like to say anything, then please do so. Raise a hand, and then I will unmute you.
Sir, why does when we go to space it looks very dark, and in the morning in Earth, why does it look blue, the sky?
Great question. Now, why does it look dark when we go outside? Now, the answer to that is very simple. You have sun, which gives out light in all directions, and depending on where you are, you will either see light or you will not see light. If there is sun and there is no object blocking the light in your way, then you will see a lot of light in space also. And if there are objects between you and the sun, then all you will see is darkness.
Thank you, sir.
And on the other question, why is the sky blue? Now that is that's a very interesting question. And the answer to that is a lot more scientific. The sky is not always blue. It's got different colors depending on what you see in the sky. In fact, in a few places, if you go in the evenings, or if you wake up in the morning, you will see the sky to be orange because of the light. In other places, in the evenings, the sky is actually purple in color. Though generally most of the time sky is blue, but it's got different colors also, and that depends on the what is present in the atmosphere at that time, what are the different gases, what is the humidity level, and a lot of other different factors. Why do Sun and Mars is blue and why is Earth is yellow? Sorry, I didn't get that question. If you want to say something, can I please request you to raise your hand? So unmute. Okay, how do I find show? Okay, I think I've unmuted you now. Please speak, Kushal.
Orange, yellow, red. The sun is like that. And in Mars, the sun is color blue.
We're not able to hear you, Kaushal.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, in Earth, the sun is of color yellow, orange,
Yes.
and red. And in Mars, the sun color is blue.
Yes.
Sir,
Why
why?
is that?
In the
Yeah.
Mars,
Okay, the answer to your question is it depends on what is present in the atmosphere. When light enters the atmosphere of Earth, we have different gases here. We have about 75% nitrogen, we have about 21% oxygen, and we have other gases. So depending on how those gases reflect light, we see yellow or orange or red color. Mars has different gases in its atmosphere, and different gases reflect different colors of light, and depending on what light do they reflect, you will see a different color. And not just Mars, if you go to any other planet, all the planets have different gases in their atmosphere, and you will see different colors of sun. Okay, Chavi, so I've put you on unmute now, please speak.
Sir, I want to tell you something.
Yes, please.
When the earth comes between the sun and moon, there is the light on the front and the back. But when the moon comes between the earth and the sun, it's become dark on whole earth.
Yeah.
So
And
this
that
is called the lunar and solar eclipse.
Yes, correct. We will cover eclipses in detail in a separate class, but yeah, it's good to know that. And if if any of you are keen, please do join that class. If you are keen in anything related to our solar system and space science, then we will conduct a lot more sessions, and I will be happy to share a great deal of knowledge with all of you. Okay, Neve wants to say something. I'm going to put you on unmute. Neve, please speak.
So, everybody says we can see constellations, but I try to see, but I cannot see. How can I see?
How can I see? So, where do you live, Neve?
I live in Bangalore.
Okay. Now, what happens when you live in a city? And I think most of you would be living in different cities. When you live in cities, the sky that is visible during night is not very clear. So if you want to see a lot more stars, other constellations, you will have to go to a place which is very clear and there is not a lot of light. Because in cities we have lights in different buildings that doesn't help in looking at the sky. So you will need to look at different constellations. You will have to go to a very clear place where there are no lights at all, absolutely no light, and look at the sky, and then you will see a lot of stars.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Kaushal, you want to say something? Okay, thank you. Who else? Is there anyone else who wants to say something? All right, I think it's time to wind up the class. And before we all leave, all I want you to do is remember this one sentence. If there is one thing that you should take away from this class, it's this sentence. My very educated mother just showed us nature. Now, I have a small activity for you. Each one of you, please go to your parents, whether it's your mom or your dad or your elder sister or brother. Go and tell them this sentence today. My very educated mother just showed us nature. All right. Thank you.